Today on Investigate TV Plus Weekend, high school athletic associations call the shots, set the rules, and decide who plays. We investigate this unchecked power and the impact of these game-changing decisions.
Oh, and by the way, kids, every game that y'all were part of for the last 3 years, well, or longer than that, but at least 2 championships before, they're all losses now.
Plus, when talent alone isn't enough, where your high schooler lives can decide if their name, image, and likeness are worth thousands or nothing at all.
And so together we made a decision as a family and had 30 days to move and kept our place in Missouri and moved to California.
And when a student with disability acts out, often the default response is just to send the child home, making it hard for them to develop the skills needed to succeed in school and beyond.
We, at one point, just started sitting in the parking lot at the school waiting for the call.
Investigate TV Plus Weekend starts right now. Hello and welcome to Investigate TV Plus Weekend. I'm Lee Zurich. Across America, high school athletic associations serve as the gatekeepers of guidelines for young athletes. They wield enormous power, the authority to strip away championship titles and dismantle the sports careers for students and coaches. But as Chris Nakamoto discovered, defying those decisions usually requires a trip to court and a lawyer by your side.
Clamorous cheers, energized fans, and pure passion for athletics. Just 4 short years for athletes, unpredictable and unnerving at times. With adrenaline high, there's so much at stake. The emotions of winning under the Friday night lights are a showstopper across America. But playing sports with pride and purpose can be painful if an adult determines a teen strayed away from a fine line of high school athletic rules. In West Virginia, 3 coaches sidelined and sanctioned.
2 coaches at Nitro High School and 1 from Sherman High School won't be on the sidelines for Game 1 after the state's Secondary Schools Activities Commission hit both with sanctions for recruiting violations.
In Illinois, a high school put on probation for a year and forced to forfeit a game.
Well, major shakeup coming to the Nick 10 football standings tonight, with Hononegah having to forfeit their Week 3 win over Harlem due to an eligibility issue with one of their starters.
And in Alabama, a high school forced to forfeit 5 wins, losing a spot in the playoffs. The common denominator, their high school athletic associations said they broke their rules. But in each case, too, circumstances that might be a little deeper than they appear and not so black and white, from allegations of bullying to a medical issue. Each year, hundreds of young athletes find themselves on the sidelines after high school athletic associations say they ran afoul of the rules. And being benched can mean missing valuable game time in front of recruiters and simply the high school experience. Dr. Carissa Niehoff is the CEO of the National Federation of High School Athletic Associations. Her organization writes the rules for 18 interscholastic sports.
When transfers are driven for athletic purposes, we have now lost student-athlete identity. And it now becomes athlete, oh, and by the way, they're students. We'll figure that out. So the transfer rules that are in place for state associations are there to protect the academic growth of a student.
It's an out-of-body experience where everything you've worked for that whole season with that group of kids, you can just tell the moment it clicks. And that's pretty cool. It's really cool. In fact, it's bringing goosebumps to my arms right now, but those are the moments that's why you coach.
Kevin Hannon coached high school baseball for more than 2 decades in a rural portion of northern Indiana.
I'm most proud of the fact that, I see former players today and they'll still say, hey coach, and that's pretty important. That's a pretty valuable role to me.
He echoes Dr. Niehoff's sentiments about transfers and is vehemently opposed to them except for rare circumstances. He supports the rules so students can't go school shopping for winning teams. But Indiana recently agreed to study a proposal for a one-time free transfer for high school athletes.
So you're changing your child's dynamic because you don't like the baseball coach at the school you're at. I just think that's maybe that's a rash decision.
Investigate TV's analysis of state athletic associations' rules showed that in most states, the association's executive director is the sole arbiter of which transfers are legitimate. Depending on the state, the sit-out time can last for as long as a year. It is one of the most contentious issues in high school sports, with parents saying it should be their choice where their child attends school. Outside of a judge overturning a decision made by a high school athletic association in court, there's not much that can be done when there's a bad call. That's because our national investigative team found these state athletic associations wield unfettered power, serving as judge, jury, and investigators for high school sports.
This team is the best team. I mean, I hate to say that, but in all fairness, this was the best team Newman had ever seen.
So it was just like we was prepared for everything that was coming.
No one knows this harsh reality better than Isidore Newman's basketball team in New Orleans, which was stripped of its state titles, and Newman's coach suspended days before winter break last year over alleged recruiting violations.
What a Christmas present.
Lawyers say the school in Livingston had scant details about the decision that was made behind closed doors and no way to dispute the allegations. So Coach Livingston hired lawyers Gibby Andry and Adam Johnson.
Oh, and by the way, kids, every game that y'all were part of for the last 3 years, well, or longer than that, but at least 2 championships before, they're all losses now. You went from being a winner to now you're a loser.
Weeks later, a judge temporarily overturned the Athletic Association's decision, restoring Newman's wins and Livingston as coach, while the court process continues.
What needs to change is they need oversight. This is what happens when you have no oversight at all. You get constitutional violations. You get just acting without any concern for any consequence. You know, the most difficult thing is that not just the coaches, it's the kids that are taking a brunt.
During questioning in court, the director of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association admitted to violating its own policies by not giving Livingston or school leaders an opportunity to respond. No due process when they claim the school violated recruiting rules. You violated your own rules though, correct? Yes, sir, Eddie Bonine, head of the LHSAA, responded. In another extraordinary admission, Executive Director Eddie Bonine admitted the decision was made based on illegible notes. The purported allegations, half of which cannot be read by the accused, cannot be read and understood. Can we agree on that? Yes, sir, Bonine replied.
The fact that you're able to say those things in a row, and that all of that is true and legible in a transcript is insane to me that we've gotten this far.
Associations around the country are responsible for enforcing guidelines for high school athletics in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. Our review of bylaws nationwide showed that few of the high school athletic associations are public entities. The rest are private or nonprofit organizations with little to no accountability to the public, even though they oversee public school sports.
Do you think a private entity has any business regulating public schools or public institutions?
I don't think that unchecked they should have that right, and that's what exists now.
The bylaws in at least half the states do not explicitly grant schools, students, or coaches due process before decisions are made. We uncovered the protocols in Louisiana are not unique, causing some states like North Carolina to claw back some power from their athletic association. Appeals are sent to the State Board of Education, which has overturned several decisions made by the High School Athletic Association since lawmakers increased oversight there in 2021. And even though the state now has more say, it doesn't give much public information about its cases, citing federal privacy laws. North Carolina is an outlier. The majority of state athletic associations operate with no state accountability.
It's a little fiefdom that they have where they have no oversight. They do not check and balance themselves, so someone else has to.
From Louisiana to Indiana, we brought the Newman example to the CEO of the National Federation of High School Athletic Associations.
That wouldn't feel good to the school. That would be dropping something in their lap. That certainly wouldn't feel good, especially if they were unaware. So I would encourage state associations as appropriate and to be respectful of the membership agreements with their schools.
She says the rules that are written by the NFHA are essentially a rubric that high schools follow for game rules. They choose their own governing policies. And while some applaud the rules and say they're there for a reason, others want legislative oversight in all 50 states to rein in some of the rigid rules and decisions.
You've lost your way. You're there for the kids. You're there to make sure that they can become the best that they can be as players, as teammates, as students. And so what you should be doing is figuring out how they can play versus priding yourself on figuring out how they can.
Coach Livingston's case remains pending. The organization has stood by its decision to move forward with claims alleging that Newman and Coach Livingston violated recruiting rules. We reached out to the executive director of the Louisiana High School Association. We're still awaiting a response.
Pretty cool. It's a cool feeling whenever you search on my name and it says first athlete, regardless of sport, to get an NIL deal.
Coming up, high school wrestler Richie Clementi built his brand before he could even drive. But in some states, athletes like him never get the chance to cash in. We investigate why next. High school sports prodigies are catching the attention of big money sponsors. Their elite athletic talent is turning into lucrative opportunities, earning them thousands of dollars for their name, image, and likeness. But as our team uncovered, securing one of these deals isn't always straightforward. A patchwork of state regulations keeps some student athletes from even being eligible. Chris Nakamoto is back to explain.
I've kind of figured out what to do mentally before my matches. Before I used to be like, "Urgh." And now I've actually found myself wrestling better when I'm calm. I stop listening to music. I kind of like to feel the environment around me. My breathing, everything's cool, calm, and collective, and I feel like that's when I perform best.
At the age of 18, Richie Clementi has already won 4 state championships and a spot in Louisiana history books.
Pretty cool. It's a cool feeling whenever you search on my name and it says first athlete, regardless of sport, to get an NIL deal.
Deals from his NIL, which stands for name, image, and likeness, did not come easy. His devotion to the sport keeps him disciplined and helps him rake in a little extra spending cash doing what he loves.
Man, that's good.
With multiple NIL deals and others still rolling in, Clementi's net worth is still being tallied at his young age. But he did share some deals amount to 5 figures, as companies pay him to use and be seen with their products.
Since age 12, I've been meeting people at tournaments. Wherever I'd go, I'd be like, hey, can you follow me on Instagram? I'll follow you back. So that's kind of how I built my Instagram page, and that's how most companies find me, actually.
For Clementi, the money gives him an opportunity to focus on practice and becoming a better wrestler, instead of working a minimum wage job. NIL deals for high schoolers are a relatively new concept, first surfacing a year after the NCAA began allowing deals for college athletes in 2021. Our national investigative team looked at high school NIL rules across America and found a few dozen states allow it for high school athletes. A handful specifically ban students from receiving money for their name, image, and likeness. Dr. Carissa Niehoff is the CEO of the National Federation of High School Associations.
Can high school kids engage in NIL contracts? Absolutely. The difference for us is that they should not do it while representing their high school. They're not professionals, they're amateurs. They don't own that high school jersey. They own their name, image, and likeness.
She says the trickle-down effect from the college level to high schools is real.
Very different from the collegiate level, where those student athletes are really looking for professional experiences and engagements and contracts and big dollars. Most of which, by the way, aren't going to get them.
It's a slippery slope, and one Jill McIntyre was willing to slide down with her daughter, who plays basketball brilliantly.
And so together we made a decision as a family and had 30 days to move and kept our place in Missouri and moved to California.
McIntyre left her home state of Missouri, which at the time didn't allow high school NIL deals, so her daughter, Jada Williams, a talented point guard, could attend a school in California, which allowed Williams to become one of the first female high school basketball players to sign a national NIL deal. The deals continued rolling in for Williams, as her talent came with a shining spotlight from revered recruiters. Williams' move out west set her up for success. To date, she continues to rake in thousands of dollars in NIL deals from big companies like Spalding and Gymshark.
It was so much bigger than just her and NIL. It was just an opportunity of a lifetime to start something and be a part of something bigger.
The move put Williams in a good spot to get college offers. She now plays for the University of Arizona in Tucson.
When I say the stars align, they really aligned, in all areas of our life.
While moving isn't feasible for most high schoolers just looking to play for fun, one common theme here is the heavy parental involvement for both Richie Clemente and Jada Williams. Their support structure sets them up for success in the sports they play. For a teen far developed beyond his years, Clemente is already in the process of pioneering the unforeseen.
One goal I have, I actually just wrote my 10-year life plan, and one goal that is on there is to be on the Greco-Roman world team in the next 10 years.
While some states leave NIL deals to the high school athletic associations, several have passed legislation or are currently in the process of doing so.
You send your child to school with the hopes that they're going to have a great day.
Up next, federal data shows students with disabilities are more likely than their classmates to be disciplined. We hear from families who say the system is failing their children and where they believe the blame lies. Students with disabilities face higher discipline rates nationwide, according to the latest U.S. Department of Education data. Case in point, in Tennessee, 1 in 4 students sent home for behavior issues has a disability. Families there say the issue isn't teachers, but a lack of resources. Reporter Courtney Allen speaks with parents who demand state action.
You send your child to school with the hopes that they're going to have a great day.
After dropping her son off at school, Angela Powell says she often had to turn right around and come back.
We, at one point, just started sitting in the parking lot at the school waiting for the call.
The call to pick Charlie up for behavior. Charlie has autism and ADHD.
And we can put your facts up here.
Angela says he was sent home so much, she started homeschooling him in 2023.
I felt very relieved about it, that I didn't have to spend any more time at school where I would just be punished or sent home.
We found 1 out of every 4 times a child is sent home from school in Tennessee, the student has disabilities, even though those with disabilities only make up 14% of all students at public schools. That's according to data from the U.S. Department of Education.
And so I think it's a lack of resources, both capital resources and human resources available to support these students.
Jeff Strand with the Tennessee Disability Coalition says the real issue is understaffing. Local districts don't have enough psychologists, counselors, social workers, and teachers to adequately identify and correct classroom behavior issues. Strand says sending kids home has become a shortcut.
If you perpetually kick the can down the line, you're just graduating a kid who is unprepared to live in our communities with us. And ultimately, they'll end up being institutionalized.
Strand and Angela blame state leadership, calling on lawmakers to increase special education funding. Both Republicans and Democrats tell us it'll be a priority for them in January's legislative session.
I'm having conversations with the Department of Education this summer and fall, as well as with our governor, to see is there funding, any amount of funding that we can support or help.
If we can put $140 million towards vouchers, then certainly that's something that we can put towards our students who are in our public schools who are in need.
Back in Williamson County,
we have a trampoline that he can jump on. We have a balance board that he can use.
We asked Charlie how he thought he was treated at school compared to other students.
I think everybody has an extremely different experience, and I can't really compare it to anybody, because every school and every person's life is different and based entirely off of life experience.
How old are you?
12.
And so tell me that a child like him should not be able to succeed in school when given the right tools.
In July 2022, the U.S. Department of Education issued sweeping new guidance related to the discipline of students with disabilities. Essentially, that guidance reinforces that schools cannot discriminate against these students and must provide appropriate behavioral support, if possible, before resorting to discipline. Coming up, college-bound but not cash-ready. Why most students feel unprepared for the real world, and a new tool that could help next. According to a new survey from Bank of America, less than half of college students say they feel financially prepared for the real world. Rachel DePompa takes a closer look at a new tool that may help families better prepare their children in this week's Watching Your Wallet.
Bank of America is unveiling family banking across the country, and we wanted to know a little bit more about how it works. So I caught up with the president of retail banking for Bank of America, Holly O'Neill. She says parents can soon set up bank accounts for their children under the age of 16 online or through the mobile app. You control the accounts, set the limits and the alerts, and your kids cannot overdraft.
Less than half of kids when they go to college feel prepared, but parents feel responsible to make sure they're set up for success. So the combination of the two, getting to them earlier and giving parents a partnership and a hands-on approach with family banking really were the drivers of our design.
O'Neill says the point is to teach kids early how to budget. You can make it fun, set the rules, and they learn the value of money, especially how to save it.
From a parent vantage point, it allows you to put some parental controls in and alerts so that you can surveil what they're doing. And again, it can be a real-time learning experience for your child.
Most kids only see their parents with cards in their hands, not dollars. O'Neill says teaching kids how to manage a debit card early on is a key life lesson. Bank of America launched family banking in select states last year and plans to roll it out across the country in the coming months.
And that's it for us. Thanks for joining us here on Investigate TV Plus Weekend.